You've been sitting on a power you were never taught to use. Every goal you've chased, every vision board you've pinned up, every affirmation you've whispered into the bathroom mirror, all of it was circling the edges of something Charles Haanel described over 100 years ago. By the end of this, you'll understand why most people spend their entire lives one mental adjustment away from everything they want. In 1912, a businessman from St. Louis started circulating a course in 2004 weekly lessons. It was passed hand to hand, quietly, among executives and entrepreneurs who treated it like contraband. The material was dense, philosophical, and wildly ambitious in its central claim that there exists a universal creative intelligence and your individual mind is an outlet for it. A terminal connected to an infinite network. The book was called the Master Key System, and for a brief window, it was banned in certain circles for being too dangerous. The danger, apparently, was that ordinary people might start believing they had access to extraordinary capacity. So what made Haanel's framework different from every other self-help philosophy floating around in the early 20th century? He grounded it in mechanism. Where others talked about wishing and hoping, Haanel described a specific relationship between your conscious mind and what he called the universal mind. Your conscious mind chooses, it directs attention, it decides what to focus on. And that focus, sustained over time, connects to a deeper creative substrate that organizes circumstances, resources, and opportunities around the pattern of your thought. You felt this work in small ways already. You fixate on buying a certain car, and suddenly you see that model everywhere. You decide you want to learn Spanish, and within a week someone mentions a free class at the community center 3 blocks from your house. That filtering effect, where your focused attention seems to rearrange what shows up in your life, Haanel argued it operates at a scale most people never test. The reason most people never test it comes down to one thing: mental discipline. And mental discipline sounds simple until you actually try it. Haanel's course didn't start with visualization techniques or goal-setting worksheets. The first exercise was to sit still in a chair for 15 to 30 minutes, controlling your body completely. No fidgeting, no scratching, no shifting, just stillness. Most of his students couldn't do it. They'd last 4 minutes before their leg twitched, their nose itched, their mind screamed for stimulation. That was the point. If you can't govern your own body for 15 minutes, how do you expect to govern the direction of your thoughts for weeks and months at a time? The physical stillness was training wheels for something far harder: mental stillness. The ability to hold one idea, one image, one intention in your mind, without your attention fragmenting into grocery lists and old arguments and anxious projections about next Tuesday. This is where the framework gets practical in ways that feel almost uncomfortable. Haanel described thought as a creative vibration. Set aside whether you find that language scientific or spiritual, the behavioral consequence is identical either way. When you hold a clear mental image of a desired outcome and saturate it with emotional conviction, your behavior changes. Your perception changes. The questions you ask change. And the questions you ask determine which doors you even notice, let alone walk through. A person consumed by scarcity thinks, "How do I avoid losing what I have?" A person saturated with a creative vision thinks, "What's the next piece that fits?" Same world. Same 24 hours. Completely different operating instructions flowing through the same brain. You've watched this play out with someone you know. The friend who decided they were going to start a business, and within months the right partner appeared. The funding materialized. The first client showed up through a connection that seemed impossibly lucky. You called it luck. They called it alignment. Haanel would have called it the natural result of a mind that stopped scattering its energy across 100 half-committed intentions and poured everything into one clear channel. The channel metaphor matters. Think about water running down a hillside, spread across a wide, flat surface. It barely moves pebbles. Carved into a single narrow channel, that same volume of water cuts through rock. Your mental energy works the same way. Every worry you entertain, every grudge you maintain, every hypothetical disaster you rehearse, each one is a tributary bleeding off the main current. Haanel's entire system comes down to this: learn to consolidate the flow. But consolidation requires something most people resist. You have to decide, fully. A half decision is worse than no decision because it creates the illusion of commitment while leaving every escape route open. You've done this. You've said you want to write a book while secretly believing you're not talented enough. You've said you want financial freedom while spending every evening numbing out in front of a screen instead of building the skill that would generate it. The universal mind, as Haanel described it, responds to conviction. Wavering doesn't register. It's like trying to tune a radio while spinning the dial. You get static, fragments, noise. Pick the frequency, hold it. The signal clarifies over time. Now, a necessary caveat. Haanel was writing in an era before we understood systemic barriers the way we do now. Your ability to align your thinking operates within real constraints: economic, social, physical. A person born into poverty faces friction that a person born into wealth simply doesn't, and mental discipline alone won't erase that gap. What Haanel's framework does offer, even accounting for those constraints, is a method for maximizing what you can influence. You can't control the hand you were dealt. You can control how much of your mental energy goes toward playing it well versus resenting the dealer. That distinction matters more than it sounds like it should. The 24 lessons build progressively. Early exercises focus on physical control and concentration. Middle lessons introduce visualization, holding a mental image with enough clarity and detail that it begins to feel real before it exists in physical form. Later lessons address the connection between individual thought and what Haanel called the source of all supply. He described this as scientific, as lawful, as predictable as electricity flowing through a circuit once the conditions are met. And the conditions are always the same: clarity of intention, emotional saturation, sustained focus, and the willingness to act on whatever impulse or opportunity emerges from that alignment. That last part, the willingness to act, separates Haanel from the passive manifestation crowd. He was explicit about this. Thought creates the blueprint. Action builds the structure. A person who visualizes wealth while sitting on their couch waiting for a check to arrive has misunderstood the system entirely. The creative power flows through you, meaning through your hands, your voice, your choices, your labor. You are the instrument. The alignment is what ensures the instrument is pointed in the right direction and playing the right notes. There's a moment in the course where Haanel asks the student to visualize a single object, a flower, a piece of fruit, anything simple, and to build it in their mind with such detail that they can see individual textures, shadows, the way light bends across its surface. Then he asked them to watch it grow, to see the life force moving through it, to understand that the same force animating that imagined flower is the force animating them. The exercise sounds almost childish. Students who complete it report something shifting in how they experience their own agency. The boundary between the imagined and the real starts to feel less like a wall and more like a membrane. You felt that membrane thin out before. The night before a job interview where you were so prepared, so clear, so certain of your value that the conversation flowed like you were reading from a script you've already written. The afternoon you made a decision that terrified you and felt a rush of energy so immediate it was physical. Your spine straightened, your breathing deepened, your voice dropped half an octave. That was alignment. Brief, unintentional, and powerful enough that you still remember it. Haanel's argument is that you can make that state deliberate, daily, habitual. The master key isn't a secret phrase or a hidden technique. It's the disciplined practice of directing your thought toward what you intend to create, starving what you intend to leave behind, and trusting the creative process enough to keep going when results haven't shown up yet. That trust is the hardest part, because there's always a gap between the mental shift and the physical evidence. Always. And in that gap, every old pattern, every cynical voice, every comfortable doubt rushes in to pull you back to the familiar frequency. The people who break through are the ones who treat that gap as a test of signal strength rather than evidence of failure. They hold the dial steady, the static fades, slowly at first, then faster than they expected. Circumstances rearrange. Conversations land differently. The right email arrives on the right morning. From the outside, it looks like the universe conspired. From the inside, it feels like you finally stopped jamming your own signal. Haanel died in 1949. His book went out of print for decades. When it resurfaced, a new generation read it and recognized something the original audience already knew. The instructions work, but only for the person willing to sit in that chair, quiet the noise, and hold one clear image long enough for reality to catch up with it. The chair is still there. It's been there your whole life. The only question is whether today is the day you finally sit down.